So after listening to the day, everybody took all the parts in my speech, which I already lost, so that was a relief. And people were using quotes, and I listened to everybody all day and thought, man, it sounds like it's the best of times and the worst of times. So with this Let's Talk TV as the focus of this conference, changing consumer habits, regulation, deregulation, OTT services, foreign and domestic, tangible benefits, changing technology, cord cutting, cord shaving, cord nevers, unbundling, pick and pay, market pressures, there certainly is no shortage of things to talk about. And we've heard all day that it's actually about the content. So in this volatile disruption that faces us, where is the place for Canadian content? How do we collectively find a way to ensure the successful, stellar content made in this country every day remains a visible and, in fact, preferred choice for the consumer? Canada's been the envy of the world for its long-standing and deep support of content creation, from federal grants, equity investments, to tax credits, support from provincial, municipal, and territorial governments. The vision of early public policymakers has given this country a healthy distribution and broadcast system, a wealth and diversity of content that resonates around the world, and a vibrant production sector that in 2012-13 contributed $7.6 billion to Canada's GDP, including $2.3 billion in export, and sustained more than 127,000 full-time jobs. The Canadian audiovisual industry is part of a rapidly changing global environment and economy. Audiences are consuming content in more ways than ever before. Advancements in technology and the digital revolution provide access to a plethora of content offerings unheard of as little as 5 years ago. Morgan Stanley extrapolated from a Cisco report that by 2020, there will be 75 billion devices connected to the internet. That's over 9 devices for every person that's expected to be around in just 7 years. So I would venture to say that changes everything. Unlike the dinosaurs before us, we seem to have 2 options: adapt or die. At a recent CMPA trade mission to Australia, a very eloquent and articulate Kim Williams, the inaugural chair of the Australian Film Finance Corporation, which morphed eventually into Screen Australia, made the following observation, and I quote, "The world is not changing, it has changed. If you want nothing to change in your setting, it means everything around you either has to be static also, or has to modify and adjust dramatically around you to support your static path. And it won't. Indeed, it can't operate like that. It isn't in the nature of life. It's not how society operates unless you want to diminish and be pushed off into a corner, condemned to increasing irrelevance." His advice to that producers' conference was seize the day. So the ingenuity, resilience, and fortitude that you as a production community have demonstrated in the work you do will certainly be called upon to embrace the opportunities that are right before us and inherent in this kind of seismic change. But for you, there's nothing new in that. You're no stranger to adaptitude. Now, many of you know I own and operate a horse ranch in my home province of Saskatchewan. Through that experience, I have once again become closer to the agricultural sector. And the similarities between the audiovisual sector and the agriculture sector are really interesting to me. Both sectors are subsidized. Both are filled with passionate, strong-willed individual thinkers who at heart are problem solvers. Both employ creative financing to ensure the making of their product, often at their own risk. Both are subject to market forces outside of their control. Both sell their product, often for less than what it cost it to make them, and turn around and do it again next year. Both are intuitive. I've watched my brother pick up a handful of soil, smell it, and know what crop to plant that year, providing the world with food. Writers, directors, and producers can sense a good story, build a collaboration to give it birth, providing the world with ideas that can and do change the way we think, reflect on ourselves, and the conditions in which we live or aspire to. In Canada, there has been, over the last 50 years or so, no shortage of ideas. In the last couple of years, Telefilm Canada, the CMF, and the CMPA have together turned their attention to a more concentrated focus on access and promotion, the goal of which is to assess the options for increasing accessibility to and visibility of great Canadian film and television content on new digital platforms. The critical conclusion from this undertaking is the startling fact that many thousands of hours of recognized, often award-winning Canadian film and television content in the English market has not been converted to digital formats for distribution on services like iTunes, Netflix, Cineplex, and the Canadian BDU and VOD offerings. In the French market, a visionary model, Elephant, was built by Quebecers Pierre-Carl Pelledeau and is currently offered through Videotron's Illico service. This project has digitized and made available feature films made in Quebec, from which the revenue from the monetization of this content returns to the rights holder. In the English market, the Canadian content database that we have compiled reveals that less than 10% of the back catalog is available online, and that count treats TV series as a single title. If each episode of a series is treated as an individual title, the percentage drops to 1%. Some 22,000 titles produced in this country since 1995 are simply not available to the public. And it was the Canadian public who, in large part, invested in the development and production of this content through their tax dollars, cable and direct-to-home subscription fees, and yet have no access to their investment. Investment in feature film and feature documentary titles like Crash, The Five Senses, Hanging Garden, Lilies, New Waterford Girl, The Sweet Hereafter, Regeneration, Rude, Better Than Chocolate, The Divine Ryans, Gabrielle Roy, Grey Owl, Rupert's Land, Shake Hands with the Devil, The Barbarian Invasions, Crazy, Ginger Snaps, Marion Bridge, Flower and Garnet, Lost and Delirious, 7 Times Lucky, Bollywood Hollywood, Eve and the Fire Horse, Men with Brooms, Spider, Babar, King of the Elephants, Dracula, Pages from a Virgin's Diary, Men of the Deeps, Mile Zero, Possible Worlds, The Republic of Love, and St. Ralph. In television, The Atwood Stories, Black Harbor, The Boys of St. Vincent, Codco, Cold Squad, Da Vinci's Inquest, Da Vinci City Hall, Degrassi, The Next Generation, ENG, Human Cargo, Milgard, My Left Breast, North of 60, Regenesis, Robson Arms, Slings and Arrows, This is Wonderland, Traders, Twitch City, Due South, The Big Comfy Couch, This is Daniel Cook, Trudeau, Trudeau 2, Wapoose Bay, The Beachcombers, The Littlest Hobo, King of Kensington, Street Legal, The Friendly Giant, Theodore Tugboat, Pioneer Quest, Mentors, Blue Murder, Sue Thomas FBI, The Collector, and Godivas. I think as a country we should be embarrassed about this, if not a little ashamed. And of course there are many obstacles: digitization, the complexity of rights issues, and sometimes even finding the content. The cost-benefit assessment of the limited economic return from many of these titles has also been a stumbling block. But as the Canadian BDUs develop their VOD and SVOD offerings, and the competing OTT services look to satisfy consumer interest in Canadian content, perhaps the time has come to find a way to give these great stories another life and use them to drive discoverability to new content. It's no good to you or your potential audience sitting on a shelf. It's no surprise that the owners of large libraries of children's programming have been leaders in digital distribution, largely due to a more established global marketplace through which to monetize costs. DHX, a case in point, whose digital distribution of Canadian kids' content hit $30 million this year. You heard Blue Ant speak about their increasing revenues through digital this morning, and last week at Kidscreen, the Jim Henson Company stated their digital revenues are increasing double every year. So I guess the time has come to seize the day. For the back catalog, the next step on this project are under discussion. I'd like to thank Catherine Tate for her work with us on this project, and all of the distributors, companies, and individuals who talked with her, the unions and guilds for talking with us about the rights issues, and particularly the provincial and territorial funding agencies across Canada who gave these content lists important titles from their perspective. I, for one, am fiercely proud of the work produced in Canada and have had the privilege to see it resonate around the world and watch as sales and co-production deals are struck and awards are won. Just last week, the team from Dream Street brought home an international Emmy for The Phantom for Best Kids TV Movie and Miniseries. The Minister of Culture from Nova Scotia, Film and Creative Industries from Nova Scotia, the Shaw Rocket Fund, the CMF, and the Mayor of Bathurst, where the tragedy occurred, were all in attendance to cheer the home team. As the tears were running down the mayor's face and he talked to us about how difficult it was for him to talk the whole community into telling this incredibly difficult and heartwarming story, it occurred to me that this whole event was a shining example of the support system in this country and the pride of place we all feel when the international eye is turned on Canada. Just look at that hockey game at noon today. As traditional boundaries dissolve and our familiar, comfortable ways of doing things evaporate around us, it certainly will take a village, especially this village, to capitalize on the opportunity in front of us. One thing for certain, and we've heard this all day today, is the status quo won't hold. And static isn't much of an option. We need to review the core logic that underpins the policies we have. Can we increase the flexibility in our approach? Can we increase the flexibility in our approach? Are the old rules the right rules for today? Can we seek better long-term footings, incentivize differently, market and export more aggressively, and find a better nexus between risk, costs, and outcomes? Do we want landfill or landmark programming? Is it possible to position Canadian content at the very center of this debate? A Vancouver producer once said to me, "Valerie, if you aren't on the side of the content, what side are you on?" So I would invite you all to continue the dialogue out of this great conference. Congratulations to Michael and all of his team for putting together a wonderful program, and bring to the table your ideas for the way forward. The promotion agenda and access agenda is underway on a couple of other fronts. The Eye on Canada brand was developed by Telefilm and the CMF. No, that's MIPS. Can we go back? There we go. You've seen it out in the hall. There's the badge. At the last few international markets I was at, I had to give these away because people liked it so much. They didn't have a clue what it was, but they really liked the image. The Eye on Canada brand was developed by Telefilm and the CMF, launched at Banff last year by Telefilm, the CMF, and the CMPA, and a group of the CMPA, led by the CMPA, a group of 33 organizations in our sector have developed a hashtag, Twitter, Facebook page, providing the traction we need to make sure the world keeps its eye on Canada. The Canada on Screen microsite, established by the CMF, is being rebranded as a promotion site for Eye on Canada to drive audiences back, and it will soon include feature film, television, and digital media content.